summer. I think with the library we have now, one of the things you have to do, and I'm going to relate this in a funny way, I build model railroads. And one of the areas I like to build is Havertown and Lower Merion. When you look at the buildings, when you're playing around with them, because even though they're models, you say, geez, I could move this here, I could move that there. And every time I look at it, I say, there's a big row of buildings. Why don't we alter how we build the library and utilize that parking lot a little differently? Maybe make the parking lot and put an area above it. Sort of like as if you had a two-story parking lot and on the third floor, an open area for people to sit out and talk, maybe all covered in glass. Just like you see in the movie, just like in the movies where you have a nice bar and you sit outside, the doors open up and you look out. What I'm saying to you is, there's a lot of different ways that you can make that library appealing, useful, keep it present, its location, still make it modern, and we've heard the gentleman talk about the technology. Well, everybody that has a smartphone, I had a hell of a time going from thinking about getting a pager. Well, now I have a smartphone. I bet I use 4 hours, 5 hours every week on that smartphone just looking things up. I thought about it. I said, geez, when was the last time I didn't use it? You can't. You can't not use it when you're a small businessman. You have to have it. So communication has changed. The use of knowledge, the transfer has changed. We can do a lot better. The police station, well, it needs help. But I really, really, really think that we ought to just sometimes, after we've looked at everything, those pages that you guys have looked at are not the end-all, be-all, only solution, cut and dry, that's it. Anybody that's ever had a model, built something as a kid, made a piece of paper and did artwork in school, nobody does it the same way twice. They look at it, they change their minds. That's the evolution, that's evolving. And guys, if you can evolve and make a decision to slow down that Walmart, or Walgreens rather, then you guys can for sure get together on the library. And one last comment, I had no idea about the emergency ambulance, so I really don't understand it. If someone from the township up here on the board
we will
could
explain
that,
We
that
will
would be
explain
great.
to you.
And thank you very much.
A minute.
Hopefully I wasn't as verbose as I used to be.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Very nice. Anyone else in this front row? Second row. Okay. Yeah, well, I'll get to you. I will. Third row? Anyone in the third row? Come on up. I see your hand. I'll get to you, I promise. We're not. Orderly fashion.
Thank you for this chance. My name is Claire Hafner. I live over in 1726 Hawthorne in a home that's been in the family since 1949 when it was first built. And what I wanted to say was, the gentleman who went ahead of me said a lot of it, but you can do green roofs on top of these buildings, and you'll have less need for you'll still have need for your rain gardens, but the green roofs are also a place where people can gather. Now, obviously, the police station, you won't want them gathering on your roof, but you could have a nice place like when you do the library, you do these things. Make a green roof. It saves water and flooding. It's a 2-for-1 deal. And I think that was it. The ambulance thing, I had questions about what happened to the money. And I had questions about how long did anybody look at Penn's track record of keeping their contracts with other facilities? I mean, we had something beautiful here that was built over 60 years, and that EMS, it was superb, if you ask me, but I'm prejudiced. But the thing was, it's gone, and will Penn match it, and for how long? And that's what I mean.
Okay.
Thank you.
Again, we'll answer all the questions at the end. Anyone else in that row? And in the last row, anyone? You're up.
Hello, my name's Kevin Calvert. I live at 19 Landillo Road. I'm here to talk about 17 Landillo, the historic preservation to put in the new roof. I just moved in November. I've lived in Havertown for 10 years. I lived on Arlington. I just moved to 19 Landillo. I bought the parsonage, which is right next to St. Andrew's Church, and I've gotten to know Mike and Jody Schlachta a little bit, and I just wanted to come up and say I think that they have great style, and I've talked to some of the neighbors who have lived in that area for a while, and they're very excited that Mike and Jody are coming in to put some money into the church, and I got to say, I don't know exactly what the alternatives are, but I just wanted to come up here and say that, I support Mike and Jody putting in the standing seam metal roof. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm sorry, Mike. I'm just kidding. Come on. I was giving you a hard time. You can come and speak.
I'm Mike Schlack. I'm the guy who bought the church. Trying to preserve a historic building in this township. Challenge. But I hear everyone here wants to restore the historic buildings, the library, whatever you can. And that's my goal. I sold my house in Montgomery County. I lived in an apartment a couple of months, get my kids through school in Montgomery County, came down here, rented a house. Now I plan on preserving the church. I'm going to turn it into a home. I'm getting a little bit of feedback from the Historical Commission telling me that I need to either do standing seam roof or asphalt shingles. The best way that I can do it, my money can put down is a standing seam metal roof. It'll last another 50 to 100 years. The building's not going to change. I'm not going to change the styles of it. It's just going to remain there with a bronze standing seam metal roof. It'll look good. It'll last 50, 100 years. Just hope that I get your support, that I can save this historic building for this township. Thank you.
Thank you. Go.
Yeah.
Now's the time to speak. Yeah. When I called your row. Yeah. It's all right.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm Susanna Baruca, and I live at 805 Clifford Avenue, and I'm also the vice chair of the Historical Commission, and I just wanted to preface briefly my comments by saying that the Historical Commission and I myself as a preservation professional support greatly the preservation, rehabilitation, and adaptive reuse of historic buildings in the township, and of course in this case the adaptive reuse of a church for a residence, which we do support. I also want to say that our review, the Historical Commission's review of projects follows the same standards, whether it's a residence, a church, a synagogue, a commercial building. We look at buildings with the same standard. This is the church, St. Andrew's Church is on the Historic Resources Survey. The church was built in 1898, the first built in Lanark, which was the first planned community in the township, and a school building was added in 1926. When we reviewed the application for removing the slate roof and installing a standing seam metal roof, while we want to support the rehabilitation and adaptive reuse of this building, we denied the application because we felt strongly that the roof on this building reflects the historic character. If you've seen pictures of the building or you've driven past it, you can see that the roof is a major, what we call a character-defining feature. The importance of the slate roof, I think, is reflected in the fact that the addition in 1926 also built of stone to match the church building and also had a slate roof to match the original slate roof on the church. So we did recommend several alternative roofing materials. We understand that slate can be expensive. Not everybody can afford it. There's synthetic slate, there's laminated fiberglass shingles to look like slate, there's clay tile, which is probably as expensive as slate. There's also something made now, a stainless steel slate-style roofing, which is produced by the manufacturer that produces the standing seam roof that the applicant, Mr. Slechta, proposes. A standing seam roof would never have been on this building, and part of historic preservation and the Historical Commission's mandate is to preserve the character of the township. And while we understand the desire to have a long-standing, pardon the pun, standing seam roof, it really will change the appearance greatly of this building, and there are many alternatives, and we encourage the commissioners to consider that in your decision tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, it's almost like she planned it. Okay.
I don't know if everyone's parts of the building is.
What's that? Okay. Okay. All right.
Is there anybody outside still or no?
Anyone else?
Just remember, God lives in every church.
Okay. Thank you.
Enough for God.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Don't worry about it.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
Don't worry about it. It's just a
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a church.
Okay. You want to take a 5-minute recess and then go over the?
No, I think we should.
You want to go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't we move the church up so he doesn't have to sit here all night?
Okay. No, we're gonna answer the questions. We have to
Oh,
answer the
answer
questions.
questions.
Larry's gonna get into answering the questions. Go ahead.
I only have one question to answer, and that'll be the EMS. The rest of the buildings, I'll leave up to you all. But there was a couple questions regarding emergency medical services and the change that that the board approved. I guess it was 2 months ago,
Yes.
to go with the Hospital University of Pennsylvania.
I don't know.
It is very sad that we're losing both our volunteer ambulance services in our community, both Lanark and Manoa. They have, in fact, I got my start here with Lanark Fire Company back in 1977 when I started as a volunteer, and then I went on to become a paramedic, and here I am today as the township manager. But unfortunately, volunteerism is dying throughout the Commonwealth, and actually throughout the country. And in Pennsylvania alone, we're seeing more and more volunteer ambulance companies closing down, or actually going to a fully paid staff. And it scares me, but we're probably going to see the same thing with our volunteer fire companies in the near future if people don't start to support them financially through the membership dues and to get involved with their local fire departments. But I'd say it's probably well over a year ago that we received communications, and we met with the board presidents and the chiefs of both Lanark and Manoa. And because of their lack of volunteers, they basically became almost a full-time paid staff, and the township was supporting them financially as well. But the cost that they were getting, the operational costs exceeded what they were getting back for billing, so they were actually losing money. So we, as the township, didn't force them out. They actually told us that they were going out of business if in the very near future. So we actually did a couple things, and one of the things that we did is we brought in a consultant to give us some recommendations. And this consultant looked at a number of things, finance, billing, some ways to build new models to make sure that we continue with the level of services that we've been providing for the number of years that we have. And Haverford has, again, been providing a high level of service for a number of years. But one of the issues that we had, because the two ambulance services that we provide, it's a tiered system. The ambulances were providing the ambulance transport. The paramedics were coming from the township. So it's two vehicles going on a call, meeting with the police department. And the upper end of the community, we cover all the way up to almost the back doors of Bryn Mawr Hospital. About 45% of that call volume, it was exceeding what the state would regulate as a national response time. So we were actually taking longer to get to those residents up there, and we actually have a number of extended care facilities in that upper end. So where we were not meeting the response times. So with not meeting the response times and not being able to meet the financial demand, both Lanark and Manoa, we looked at what our options were. So we did solicit some opportunity for partnerships with local officials. What a lot of people don't know is we actually partnered back in 2001 when Mercy Community Hospital closed their doors and the township took over the entire paramedic program again. We partnered with the Hospital University of Pennsylvania, so we've had an ongoing contract with them since 2001. And that contract, they paid for some of our paramedic personnel. They paid for general liability in the medical direction from Dr. Dickinson and contributed for medical supplies. If you put a dollar figure to that, it actually saved the township taxpayers about $200,000 a year. Back in 2001, the Board of Commissioners who sat on there actually looked at 3 proposals, one being the Hospital University of Pennsylvania, one was Crozier Keystone, and the other one was Narberth Ambulance. And surprisingly, when we came to the realization that we needed to contract out this service or partner, and there is a big push throughout the Commonwealth to have public and private partnerships to save money and to improve the level of service. So we looked at the same 3 proposals. We had proposals come in from the Hospital University of Pennsylvania. We had proposal come in from Crozier Keystone Medical Center, as well as Narberth Ambulance. And we looked at, and it was discussed for a number of months amongst this board, myself, and our director of paramedics. And
Also publicly. Publicly. It was-
Publicly, yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
public.
So it was not behind
This
closed
wasn't
doors as it was
wasn't a
said.
decision that was made overnight, and there was a lot of public meetings on this and publications as well. And we felt that Penn, since they've been partnering with the township, as well as their proposal, the actual proposal that they provided to the township, and they guaranteed that they would hire all of our existing staff, with the exception of our director and our assistant director that will remain on the township payroll. They guaranteed all employment and met all of the goals that we felt that were important. And again, the most important is to provide the highest level of emergency medical services to the community. And we felt that unquestionably that Penn has proven their financial commitment, because again, they've been providing the partnership with the township since 2001. All of our employees, without us paying for their salaries, will get a substantial salary increase. All of them will become, in fact, are in the process of becoming University of Pennsylvania employees. So they will get a salary boost. They will get better retirement benefits. They will get, what they don't get now is the tuition reimbursement, which will also fall back onto their family members. We will see better equipment. We will see better training opportunity. Our response times will increase. Right now, again, we provide service. Decrease, I'm sorry. Our response times will decrease because we are going to be moving one of the vehicles, and it will be stationed off of Ardmore Avenue, which will be responding to that whole upper end. So we'll break the township in 2. So those residents who have been receiving a lack of a service will get better service. And the other vehicle will remain on this part of the township towards the Bonaire and Manoa Fire Company, somewhere in that particular area. We'll have one of our paramedic supervisors will continue to be stationed out of this facility here. Now, nothing will change other than some of the vehicles will be painted with the Hospital of University of Pennsylvania logo. The people who are providing the services are the existing people now. The patients will still go to the hospitals that they've gone to. And as far as billing practices, that will not change. Ambulance services such as Crozier Keystone, Fitzgerald Mercy, Narberth Ambulance, all of them have to bill and obey the federal billing regulations. So nothing will change other than we have asked Penn not to solicit like Lanark and Manoa did to have a membership, because we believe that actually will have a negative impact on the fire companies. So ultimately, it will be a better service for the residents, unquestionably. The response times will improve, the level of equipment, the level of training, and the good thing about it is we will continue to have a partnership with one of the best health systems in the country. The residents will continue to go to the hospitals of their choice. And the good news is the residents will save significant tax dollars, which ultimately it becomes important with Obamacare and some of the insurance changes that are occurring throughout our nation. So this evening you'll see on the agenda, and that's just something that we normally do. Dr. Dickinson has been the medical director again since 2001, and we'll be formally reappointing him. So if anyone continues to have any questions regarding this change, feel free to email me or call me, and I will put you in touch with the director of paramedics who will probably do a better job answering some of these questions.
All right, thank you, Larry. And on the flooding issue, this gentleman here spoke. Larry? Yes. Come back here, please. Thank you.
Try to get that computer going.
What was the name of this gentleman right here?
Yeah, Mr. Heller. I'm sorry, Mr. Heller.
Okay, there you go.
I forgot to flood. This board, as the Board of Commissioners directed me a few weeks ago, the board's been getting some recommendations from our Mr. Pannoni, and I believe that we're going to be looking to have a special meeting, which I'll probably recommend that we can either do it before the next work session in October or before the next regular scheduled meeting.
I'd like to do it before the work session because
Yeah.
it'll give us more time between them to look at this thing and process it prior to a vote in the October meeting.
So we'll have a more formal presentation prior to the next Commissioners' work session in October. And obviously, that'll be advertised, it'll be on our webpage. Yeah, and Mr. Pannoni will be able to put out some of the literature that the commissioners will be seeing in the very near future.
Okay. What's that? You're going to make a formal motion in new business? Yep. Okay. And he was just saying he was going to make a formal motion in our new business after the regular.
To make it official that we're going to meet, Andrew, to make it official that we're going to meet before
Okay.
the next work session.
You want to take 5 minutes before we start the meeting? Or you want to get into discussion?
No, he said he answered.
Go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't we move up 17 Landillo? So that,
So everything else but the library.
okay.
Then we should.
Somebody would like to make a motion to move that up on the
What do you want to
agenda,
make?
please?
Mr. President, could we move agenda item number 9, historic resource roof repair replacement, 17 Landillo Road, to right now on the agenda?
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Do a voice vote. All in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Anyone opposed? No. Okay, so let's do number 9.
Mr. President,
I'm sorry, can I get 1 second?
Yeah, sure. Number 9. The 17 Landillo. Go, you can read
Mr.
it.
President, I move that the Board of Commissioners approves the requested permit to allow the replacement of the existing slate roof at 17 Landillo Road with a standing seam metal roof.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Now, this will be against the commission's recommendation to
Yes.
deny it.
Correct.
And unfortunately, we didn't get the opportunity to have Mike come up at the work session, or I think Suzanne was here too, because they both could have had their positives and negatives about it. But I'm wondering, did the owner have an opportunity to look at the alternatives that were discussed by the Historic Commission?
Well, whether or not he had the alternatives, I mean, what's before us right now, Commissioner Collins, straightforward. He's asked for the permit to demolish and to construct a particular item.
Right.
As our demolition ordinance is currently drafted, the Historic Commission has the ability to make its own recommendation to this board, and their recommendation was to deny that request. We do have the information that was made available to the board when it made its decision, I know it's been made available to all the commissioners, and I know that our solicitor has separately opined to us on the legal issues that we asked him about, and without getting into any legal conclusions that he presented, I do believe he informed us on the issues.
Right.
And so I would not be making this motion if I didn't think we had enough right now to make the decision, and obviously by making it, I'm revealing certainly where I feel about it, which is I think we have adequate information here to permit the demolition of the roof and the installation of the seam roof that the owner has asked us for.
All right, there's enough. If you have enough, then there's, because they're both here, the Historic Commission, and
Yeah, they both
if
spoke.
anybody has any more questions. Okay.
Mr. President, I think it's important to note that, and you certainly, anyone can Google it, but slate and standing seam roofs, it's not that a standing seam roof is out of the time period of a slate roof. I mean, they fall within the same time frame, and I was actually in a property in Lower Merion last week that was built about the same period as this church, and they did have a standing, you could see in the attic that it was originally a standing seam roof. So I'm sure the board knows that it's not, I don't believe the applicant is asking for something that is completely out of character for that time period, whether or not, but I am not I'm not on the Historical Commission, so I can't go into the details, but I have looked into it somewhat.
Right, I thought they were looking for the integrity of the historic character of the roof, and that's why the slate was recommended by them.
Right. What the Historic Commission is saying is that that slate roof was on that building. So to keep with the historical integrity of that building, that should be a slate roof or something that looks like slate. What Jane is saying that it is period correct to have a roof of that. There are buildings that were built at that time which had standing seam roofs. The argument that Mike has made, the owner of 17 Landillo, is that by using something that is not of the that is a copy, you're creating, it's a petroleum product which is environmentally you don't really want to put
Say
petroleum
less
back in.
desirable. We don't.
Right,
need
less
to-
desirable.
Yeah.
Okay? And it would cost less, but he doesn't want to do that. He wants to put in a standing seam roof, which will last longer and have less environmental impact. The problem with the slate roof, what he's having with the slate roof, is the cost of the slate roof. So I'm just touching on a few things that were.
And I don't make this recommendation, Commissioner Connell or Mr. President, abruptly. I mean, the Historical Commission is doing what we've asked the Historical Commission to do. We as commissioners have to take more into account than that. We have to take into account what's been presented to us by the owner as to what could be the prohibitive expense of trying to restore it to its original historic, to its original historic accuracy.
Correct.
Which is, this was on this building. What Commissioner Hall mentions is that, you might honor the historical relevance of it by putting on something that's very similar to what was on or what would be on another church in another area. But overlying that for me is my concerns about a private homeowner in this situation trying to renovate this church. We're obviously very happy that he has it and that he's putting this work into it. And we have to take all of those things into account. It's not to say that the Historical Commission here is wrong. It's to say that I think when I weigh these here, I weigh all of the factors we have to take into account in the favor of the applicant and not of the board.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, please call a roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
No.
Mr. Westler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
Mr. President, do you want to take a 5-minute recess?
Let's take a 5-minute recess. All right. Thank you very much.
Spelled it right there, Dan.
Yeah, it's 202 load up. There's a young guy and an old guy.
BOSE?
Yeah.
Paul, we good?
All right, let's, you want to skip over?
Well, we have the minutes.
Yeah, do you want to do, well, 1 second. Do we want to move number 5 to the end?
No.
Okay. A lot of,
I think you want to move number 8, Mario.
number 8, I'm sorry.
What's number 8?
You have to answer the citizens forum, right?
Okay. We were done the citizens forum.
Yeah, we did. It was just.
Yeah.
You want to
Cruise through
Okay.
that.
Well, cruise, what,
I would do everything else together.
no, it's obvious that nobody wants to do that.
No, I agree with Larry.
You want
Oh my
to,
God, see? Yeah, we can blow through the rest of the agenda and then spend the rest of the evening on the.
Oh, I thought you were talking about this, okay.
People are here for the municipal facilities, so.
Okay, but the longest thing on this agenda besides that is the approval of warrants.
Warrants, yeah.
So why don't we go through everything and then do the buildings?
is that what everyone wants to do?
There's just not much here.
That's what
Okay,
I do.
we'll blow through the agenda and then we'll focus on number 8.
Here we go.
All right, so let's,
You want me to approve of warrants, Mr. Chairman?
no, not yet.
Minutes
We have,
first.
we have approval of minutes, and before that,
I mean,
we have-
approve of minutes, I'm sorry.
okay, we have discussion, the feasibility study, and 516 South Eagle is before that.
Well, why wouldn't we just do the feasibility study while we're doing the?
Correct, but I'm saying 516 South Eagle.
I don't know that we need a discussion on that.
Okay, we can move on.
I figured it would just be an agenda item.
Okay.
Minutes, Mayor?
Approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of August the 11th, 2014.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Number 7, approval of warrants.
Mr. President. Mr. President, I move we approve the following warrant, warrant number 9 of 2014, totaling $3,724,162.16, comprising the general and sewer fund payroll for August 14, 2014, in the amount of $642,486.38, general and sewer fund payroll for August 28, 2014, in the amount of $621,149.31, general fund disbursements number 9, in the amount of $1,378,432.50, the sewer fund disbursements number 9, in the amount of $539,048.88, community development block grant fund disbursement number 9 of 2014, in the amount of $89,756.11, cable access equipment fund disbursement number 9 of 2014, in the amount of $944.55, capital projects fund disbursement number 9 in the amount of $447,159.41, and credit card statements ending August 6, 2014, in the amount of $5,185.02.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. President, the warrants have been reviewed by our auditor. Any questions he had have been answered to his satisfaction. I recommend that we adopt this motion.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Somebody want to
Mr.
make a motion to move that?
Mr. President,
Commissioner Holmes.
I'm on item 10 now. I move we authorize the township solicitor to petition the court to modify the terms of the will of Wesley Schwartz with respect to the disposition and use of the property at 516 South Eagle Road.
I just have one. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
But
Are you-
do we need a motion to rearrange the minutes? The agenda, I believe we do.
Yeah, I think we should do that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Why don't you do that?
Mr. President, I move that we move agenda number 5, which is discussion of the buildings and feasibility studies, and agenda item number 8, proposed new buildings, to after Section 17, the contract awards, I'm sorry, Item 17, contract awards, later in the meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Can do a voice vote?
Wait a minute.
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay.
Mr. President, if I may repeat my motion for number 10 to authorize the township solicitor to petition the court to modify the terms of the will of Wesley Schwartz with respect to the disposition and use of 516 South Eagle Road.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
In this, what are we doing? What are we doing here? We're petitioning for
The property was left to the township for purposes of using it for a historic resource. The
Correct.
determination has been made by various professionals in the township that it will really be economically impossible for us to take advantage of its historic significance. So I believe we are asking the court's permission for us to dispose of the property, just to sell it.
Okay.
Right. And this was done, the property committee has met several times, Mr. Siegel, Ms. Hall, myself, with the Historic Commission, and we have a letter from the Historic Commission to the property committee that they deem that the building has no historical
I mean,
significance.
the Historical Society.
Society
Historical Society.
has no historical significance.
Yeah.
It has no historical significance, and we want to sell the property? Is that what we're
Yes.
saying here?
We want to either sell it or subdivide it and sell it, whatever is most feasible, but because the will provides it for the benefit of the Historic Society, we'd have to petition the court in order to get approval to essentially do something that is inconsistent with the terms of the will. So that's why we're asking the solicitor to petition Orphans Court in Delaware County to do so.
I get you, but this does not mean that we're going to sell the property. This just means we're going to have the ability to.
Correct. Anything we do after this would still have to come back to the board because
Okay,
it's a
good.
property item, correct? But this is a predicate action before we can do anything else.
Okay. All right, perfect. Any other questions? Call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
Mr. O'Leary?
Yes. Number 11.
Mr. President, motion to adopt the second reading of ordinance P 11, 2014 by amending Chapter 58, Building and Construction, Section 58-2, additions, deletions, and modifications by modifying the provisions for curb replacement.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. This is a second reading. We've had a lot of discussion on this. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
No.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
And Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Leary?
Yes. Number 12, ordinance number P 12, 2014.
Mr. President, I'd
Commissioner
like
Connell.
to adopt the second reading of ordinance number P12, 2014, authorizing traffic restrictions on the following highways. Special purpose parking in front of Campbell Avenue, beginning at the driveway of 113 Campbell to the point 17 feet east. Parking of vehicles and trucks over 8,000 pounds prohibited at all times. The north side of the 800 block of Valley Road, beginning 150 feet east of Darby Road to a point 200 feet east of Darby Road.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
Mr. O'Leary?
Yes. Ordinance number P 13, 2014.
Okay, motion to adopt the first read of ordinance P 13, 2014, authorizing traffic restrictions on the following highways. Emergency no parking areas, both sides of Brookline Boulevard, beginning at Darby Road to a point 500 feet to the east. Sticker parking only on Belvedere Road in the 2300 blocks, both sides from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and removing from the 1700 and 2100 blocks of on Belvedere Avenue.
And
One more.
Wait a minute, one more. All right. on the south side of Decatur, beginning 85 feet west of the intersection of Darby Road and ending 20 feet west.
Which would be special purpose parking.
That's special purpose parking.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. President, I'd just like to explain that on Belvedere, that there was an ordinance in place in 1976 that allowed for permit parking, but it had never been put in place. And so when we had overflow at the YMCA, the police department did put it in place, but the neighbors did get together and decided that these two blocks, that they did not want to have the permit parking, so we're reversing the ordinance.
Okay. Any other discussion?
What's the emergency no parking areas on Brookline to Darby Road?
That's
What's-
snow
Snow removal, okay, didn't say, thank you.
Anything else? Any other discussion? All right, please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Resolution number 1950, 2014.
That is,
Commissioner Connell?
Okay. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 1950, 2014, approving a public hearing on Monday, October 6, 2014, at 7:30 p.m. in the Commissioners' Meeting Room, regarding that the Township of Haverford will consider revising its zoning map by providing an overlay of the historical resources, reclassifying certain properties in the INS institutional district to address the recommendations of the Planning Commission consistent with subsection 182-602E2 regarding the reuse of institutionally zoned properties and other corrections or omissions that may be noted.
Okay, this is just the announcement of the public hearing.
second.
All right.
This is the same meeting that we're going to have with Andrew Heller on the 6th, am I right? About the, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be the
Is
6th.
that right? Just so we get the date straight?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, on the 6th, October 6th.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. All right, please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Number 15, resolution number 1951.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to appoint an emergency medical services medical director for the Township of Haverford. The motion would be for Dr. Edward T. Dickinson, M.D. I got to read all that. NREMT-P, FACEP, as physician medical director of Haverford Township Emergency Medical Services, EMS, and Police Department.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Number 16,
See you later.
Commissioner Holmes.
Mr. President, I move that this board authorize the acceptance and certification of the 2015 minimum municipal obligation.
Second.
Motion made
Again.
and seconded.
Again, I would request we all stay away from the smoothing. I think it's worked out so far.
Worked out great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
fact, we've
just
seen-
so to make the public aware of what this issue is. We have to, before the end of September of any given year, recognize and certify what the minimum municipal obligation is. And so tonight's act, taken by this board, is simply to agree with and certify the figures that are provided to us by our financial advisor and reviewed by our financing team. It is not a commitment tonight as to what amount we are going to actually put into our budget, but it is a recognition before the budgeting process finishes as to what our minimum municipal obligation would be under the law. And I repeat, Mr. Heilman's sentiments, this board has wisely in the last few years taken the position of not opting for smoothing. And as a result, it has, as a result, we are facing a declining minimum municipal obligation. That's a consequence not only of our, having the discipline not to engage in the smoothing that was engaged in for a number of years, but also we're seeing the benefits of the revised pension plans that we have entered into with our newest employees, moving from defined benefit plans to defined contribution plans. So, again, tonight's step is just a certification of the number. It is not an obligation on our part of what we're going to spend, other than the minimum amount we spend. The public should be aware that we will spend more than this because it is economically the right thing to do.
Okay.
And a lot of these recommendations came from Larry and your staff and
Yeah. comes from
Amy and
Amy.
administration that agreed to that, so we appreciate that. That certainly has helped us and assisted in getting it to where it is.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
Mr. O'Leary?
Yes. Number 17, contract awards.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept the Ocean Port salt bid in the amount of $56.47 per ton, being the lowest responsible bid.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Commissioner D'Amelio?
Darby Creek.
Which one?
Darby Creek.
Darby Creek, I'm sorry. Darby Creek